Hello and welcome to Trojans Live, presented by Monster Energy on AM 790 KBC and across the USC Trojans Media Network. I am Jordan Moore, but who cares about that? Let's take a look at the
Check it out.
Sean Cody. If you're listening on the radio, you're missing out. This is a Halloween tradition here for Sean, and it's a YouTube.
This is the best one yet.
YouTube
The green
only.
tights. This is big
it's
time.
way better when I stand.
You're getting the full experience if you're
way
watching
better.
on
You
YouTube.
guys, it's too bad I got to sit down today.
Yes, you are Peter Pan. My father was watching and said that you look great as Robin Hood. So I'm not sure that everyone's getting it.
It could be Robin
but,
Hood in tights.
Peter Pan
kind of look too.
Yes. Max Brown, the head coach, Lincoln Riley. The rest of us just pale in comparison to Sean, Coach. So I don't know. This is what we got. This is why he is who he is. We appreciate you taking the time. USC's head coach interview is presented by iTrust Capital, the official crypto platform of the USC Trojans. We're having fun, Coach, and it leads me to my first question, which is you have talked this season about not losing the fun in wins. Talk about your team after that game and the feeling in that locker room and celebrating that moment.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was just, I think more than anything, just after three quarters and you're there together. And I said it after, there's nowhere to hide. You have to win this game. You're down at that point in the fourth quarter, right there at the beginning, 2 scores.
Yep.
And you got to go find a way to do it. And that was our best ball of the game. And, I think to see that, kind of manifest itself in the way it did, to transpire the way it did with all that's gone on here, the last few weeks was really cool to see the guys respond. And, they were it was a fun locker room after it was. To come back and win like that on the road, down like we were, was a tremendous effort. And it showed it wasn't the cleanest, certainly, that we can play by any stretch, but this team has a lot of guts. This team has a lot of toughness, has a lot of character. They fight, man. I mean, they fight, and they continue to fight all throughout that thing, and that's the number one reason we won the game.
Yeah, Coach, I think it's what's this kind of the identity of this team so far this season. You've been in some tight battles here, and you guys continually fight. You've been on the bottom side of that a couple times, but for the most part, you guys find a way to get it done. Talk about your team's mentality and how is that created, and how have you seen that progress as the season's gone on?
Well, it's been important for this year, and it'll be important going forward into future years as you continue to establish the winning culture and the attitude that we want here at USC. I mean, we've had 4 games in a row where at some point in those games we've been down double digits.
Yep.
And we've come back and won 2. We were just a quarter of Eric Gentry's index finger from getting 3. And I still feel like very, very close. Probably 1 possession away there in the third quarter of the Notre Dame deal, with that one potentially turning out different as well. So the common denominator is anytime we've been down, we've put ourselves right back in the mix. Yep. I mean, we have, and that shows a lot. I mean, listen, we want to play as good as we can. We want to play cleaner more than anyone wants us to play cleaner. But you still got to find a way to put yourself in position to win at the end of the day, and we're doing that. And so, the obvious battle for us right now is the consistency, is some of the breakdowns, some of the mental mistakes that we've got a handful of plays every single game, right, or these last several games on each side of the ball, on all 3 sides, that we're not making. Self-inflicted errors that we are gifting our opponents, and that's the reason that these games have been close, and that's the number one reason by a mile that we have had to come back in some of these games. And the reality is, if you can go, we don't need to fix 60 plays. We need to fix 5 to 10 on each side of the ball, and you flip those, and all of a sudden we don't make those breakdowns. We don't give those teams those opportunities. We make those plays. These games feel a lot different. And so that's our journey, that's our path. But to find a way to win, especially this one here, with all that's, like I said, all that's transpired over the last few weeks was big, because it sets up an incredible opportunity.
Thanks for taking my question seriously in my outfit as well.
It was a challenge.
Appreciate it. Eye contact wavered, but you
gotta keep the eyes up.
That's right.
Coach, because it's so few plays that you need to fix, and it's not like, oh, you got to fix this one position group or this one area of the game, and that's been a theme, the past month or so. And I would imagine in your seat, it's a fine line between you don't want to overcoach because you want guys to just cut it loose and play free, but you still need to coach because you got to fix the issues. How do you approach that fine line, and how has that maybe adjusted over the past month or so?
Oh, we're attacking the team with it. I mean, you're not, we're not going to reach the things that we want to reach if we don't aggressively go after it. And we're doing that as coaches. We're doing that with our players. We want to play great here down the stretch. I think that's really important. And I do feel like last Saturday's got an opportunity to be, I think, that spark that this team's been looking for a little bit. I really do. And how we played in that fourth quarter, and how we had to bow up. Again, the stretch to me that still just sticks out in my mind is cause the turnover, offense turns it right back over, and they've got the ball there around the plus 40 and great field position for Cal, and we go 4 and out right there.
You could sense that on the TV watching it.
That was okay. Like that was a defining moment of that game, and I honestly think we'll look back. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we look back years down the road and look back on that and say that wasn't a defining moment for this team in its entirety. That was everything, and that was what we're capable of. And I think the guys felt it, the sideline felt it, and then we took it down and scored and had some good special teams plays, and it was cool to see that run in that moment, man, because it was like. You felt like you had the momentum and you're coming back, and then you give it right back to them. You got to go out there and stop them again. It was just bam, 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 4 plays in a row, all executed at a high level, and that's what we can be, and that's like that vision that we're holding on to and kind of that mountaintop that we're chasing right now.
You're listening to the head coach, Lincoln Riley, on Trojans Live. Coach, the run defense was significantly better in the second half than it was the first. There was an obvious thing that happened is that all of a sudden your Big Bear got to start playing in the second half. Is it that obvious? Were there other adjustments made? Did guys just tackle better, play faster, or does he make that much of a difference?
I mean, he helps. He's a good player inside. But, yeah, I can't look at the first half and say, well, it was just because he wasn't there. I mean, the reality is we gave up 2 explosive runs in the first half. And I mean, we have a defensive lineman come out of gap and a safety misfit, and you have a D lineman and a safety both go the wrong direction against a tailback that has great speed like Ott does. That's going to happen. I mean, it's bad football, and again, it's disappointing because you should have 2 people right there, and 2 people don't do their job, and that's what it looks like. And then we had a defensive lineman come out on the first one, and so those are mistakes that can't happen. The reality is in the second half we didn't make those mistakes. I mean, we were in our gaps. And both of the times, like, the guys are there, they're right there, and then they shuck off and think they want to make the play back inside, and then all of a sudden they're not in their gaps, and a good back's going to find that, and he's just going to probe it and see if there's a weakness in there, and if one guy comes out of gap, there he goes. And so, yeah, and that changed. Listen, those 2 runs changed the game. I mean, in a lot of ways, because as a play caller, you got to call it a little bit different after that, and it fit right into. It was a perfect script for Cal, right? You pop those 2 runs early, and then all of a sudden all the RPOs and all that are just so much more relevant, which, the second half we start shutting down the run game, and now all of a sudden those RPOs aren't really very threatening anymore. And now you got guys sitting back and you're tipping balls and intercepting balls and, playing it the way that really good defense looks like. And so, yeah, but those are the ones we got to make. That's part of that 5 to 10, right? There's obviously that single play and however many yards they gain, or if they score a touchdown. And listen, there's just as many offensively right now, just as many. But there's also like the momentum side of it, right? The human element of it. You're up 10-0, right? You got all the momentum in the world. Like, what's the game like if you shut that thing down and say you go score again, and all of a sudden now those RPOs aren't quite as threatening? Like it. Those are pivotal moments, especially road football, especially when you've been kind of through the stretch that we have, and like those are the ones that we got to flip. And it's like I said, I told the guys, we don't need to change 60 plays. We need to change about 5 to 10 a game that we're messing up. And if we don't mess those up, all of a sudden we're not gifting those, and now we're constantly putting pressure on the opponent. Man, everything feels different, everything. But you got to do it, and we got to do it, and we need to do it now.
Coach, I think when I watch the game and I see the explosive plays, and obviously a dismal first quarter. You guys, like I said, jump out of your gaps and stuff, but it seems like a reoccurring theme every game is the explosive plays. And I've been on defenses. You're not going to play a perfect game. You're not going to be in every single gap and guys are getting out. But I think the message is sometimes, hey, get out of your gap, but we need someone to find a way to get them down, to live another down. Just seems like you guys haven't got that message yet. What's the coaching point to try to make them establish, like, hey, you might be out of gap, but we need 11 guys flying to the ball. Just get them down one more time so we can have another round of downs to get after it.
Yeah, I think that's, largely to me, I mean, that's where your safeties, your secondary, and then your backside pursuit's got to come in. Now, when it comes out as clean as those do, the backside pursuit's going to have a tough time, and that's where it is so penalizing. But yeah, certainly on both of those runs, there's opportunities for guys in the secondary to get in and finish those off. Because you're right, if you do come out, you don't want it to be a 40-yard. You want it to be an 18-yard play, and you live to fight another down and go create a turnover the next play. And so certainly something that our guys have got to do a better job of.
Go ahead, Max.
Coach, I noticed in your interviews recently, like many people, you've been saying, hey, the Pac-12 is the best and the deepest conference, and that's been a theme the past couple of weeks, and it's funny that it's coming in the last year of this conference as it currently is. You obviously spent a lot of time in the Big 12. Did you come into the conference with a certain perception of how the Pac-12 would be, and how has that perception may have changed over the past couple of years, and what's different or what's held true to that?
Yeah, I was interested we hadn't played a lot of Pac-12 teams in my time there. I played a couple, and so I was interested what it would be like. I mean, I knew the most important thing for the Pac-12 was this program getting going, and this program had been, in my opinion, the number one reason why the Pac-12 had been down. And again, if your bell cow's not bringing it home, like, good luck. And there's other conferences that have seen that as well, and so. I knew once we got back to being competitive and one of those teams that was gonna, I think, be good for the league. I think it does a lot of things for the league. I think it's made the league more competitive, and I think it's helped raise everybody else up. And then you've got a unique year here, man, where a lot of teams returned a lot of talent. Obviously, there's really good quarterback play at damn near every school in the league right now. There's a lot of deep teams, and then obviously with the transfer portal and people being able to be aggressive there and add to these rosters, you've just got a lot of good teams, and even the teams we got a handful of teams that are at the bottom of the league standings that have spent time ranked this year. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a really good league. I mean, it really is. It's as strong as I can remember a league being in a while, talking like truly top to bottom. Like, it really is. There's just everybody's pretty tough, like everybody's, I mean, everybody's good enough to win, and everybody's good enough to beat good competition. And I think some people on the outside are having a hard time wrapping their heads around that. Like, I wouldn't a bit surprised that Cal was going to be a challenge. I mean, look at every game this year. Like, they were going to be a challenge. Yeah. I mean, it's at their place. Yeah, it was going to be a challenge. I mean, you look at what Arizona's done the last few weeks. They're playing at a really high level. I mean, so Arizona State, go on the road and come with just a whisker beating Washington there, and they've had some really good wins here. And so, I mean, they're just everybody has. And so, yeah, it's a darn good league. It's probably a little better than I thought it would be, here in year two, but it's just kind of been the perfect storm for the league right now.
Well, the battle for first place in the Pac-12 is going to play out in front of us on Saturday night, right where we want it to be in the Coliseum. USC versus Washington, a 4:30 p.m. kick. We will go on with the Trojan Tailgate Show at 2:30. Monster Energy, the official energy drink of USC. Unleash the Beast. Trojans Live is sponsored by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC. USC football. We'll talk a little bit about the Huskies next on Trojans Live. Hey, Trojan fans, did you know the Ralph's app gives you easy access to weekly sales and personalized coupons so you can earn fuel points too? Check out the app today and save while you cheer us on to another great season. Ralph's, proud partner of USC Athletics. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown, the head coach Lincoln Riley for one more segment. As I mentioned going into break, Washington comes into town for homecoming Saturday at the Coliseum. Sold out, so you have to hit those other websites to get in and scoop up some tickets. But you mentioned it, Coach. It's the year of the quarterback in the Pac-12. They've got a great one. You've got a great one. They also have two of the top three receivers in the Pac-12. A pretty hefty challenge in Washington this Saturday.
Yeah, good football team. They've done a great job this year. Quarterbacks obviously played at a high level and does a great job, distributing to their playmakers, which they've got a really good group of playmakers. Runs the offense really, really well. You can tell, obviously, he's got a lot of experience with Kalen and his system, and you can tell, right? It shows up. And so they played at a high level. They've got some really some really good players defensively as well. It's a very, very talented roster. You got a number of guys that are, projected pretty high NFL draft picks, a couple on both sides of the ball. So a good group, a good challenge. I mean, like it should be here at the end. Yeah, two good football teams going at it. So it's going to be great.
Coach, you had to get into some politicking last week up in the Bay Area there. Call it halftime. You seemed like you knew what you were talking about. You were not going to let that go. You stayed out there and finally got your way in the second half. We're kicking our third in the second half. We're kicking a kick from the first half. How did you make that happen? I mean, you seem you're out there. You were pretty. You said you knew what you had going out there.
Yeah, well, you're getting ready to talk to Lake in a second, but when Lake caught the ball right on the fourth down play, I saw him get tackled, and as he's getting tackled, I'm running down the sideline to go call a timeout, and I looked up right as he got tackled, and I know there was time on the clock. It just went from 2 to 1, so I knew he was down, and at that point you're under 2 minutes. So once you get the first down, the clock's dead. The second he's down, it's dead, and so They obviously let the clock run out. The people back at the command center told them to send both teams to halftime, which in hindsight ended up being a mistake. And so they told me the half was over, and I said, that's fine, I'm challenging it. And they said, well, you can't. Say, well, yeah, I can. I have a timeout left. And so then they got back on the horn, and it was a long review. I was glad they didn't start the halftime clocks. I mean, we were out there for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was yeah,
I was running out of material up in the first, Coach.
It was a little bizarre,
Yeah.
to be honest. Just standing out there for 10 minutes while this happened. I thought about going to get something to eat or whatever, hanging out a little bit. But yeah. So, anyways, they went through the review. He was down. And by that point, both teams obviously were in the locker room, so they made the decision. Which in hindsight, I understand why they made the decision to do it. You'd love to just go kick it right then. Yep. I mean, you hate to have a kicker sit there all dang halftime and then come out and do it. We still got to make the kick, but I don't know, it probably ended up being a little bit of a disadvantage for us that way. But yeah, we obviously had the opportunity to go out and make the field goal. So I'm glad that they got it right in the long run.
Back to this week in the Huskies, looking at Coach DeBoer and his program. You guys are both in year 2, and one thing that sticks out to me is the staff continuity that you guys both have. A lot of your assistants have been with you for a long time. With Coach DeBoer, a lot of his assistants and coordinators have been with him at the D2 level, at Indiana, at Fresno State, now at Washington. Obviously, continuity just helps just getting to know the guy. But is there a specific area of your job where that continuity really shows up as, hey, that might be a different dynamic if that was a first-year assistant or a first-year coordinator that I had?
Oh, 100%. I think especially it shows up when you're trying to start a new program, and like you're going somewhere new. Like there's already going to be so much new to begin with anyway, that if you pile that on with a staff that's just mixed in from all over the place, you just add to it. And honestly, in my opinion, you probably slow the growth in the beginning. You slow the potential. And both these programs have gotten off the ground pretty quick. And I do think, both of us would look back and say the familiarity, the continuity with the staff was certainly a key factor in that. I know it has been here, and I think Kalen would say the same thing. So yeah, it's you got to have the right ones, but you can't put a price tag on people that you've been through those wars with and have that experience with. And then it may be new for some of the players or some of the other people, but it's not new for you guys, and that it counts.
All right, here we go. USC versus Washington, Saturday, 4:30 kickoff. It'll be on ABC on TV across the nation, and Trojan Tailgate Show will get you going at 2:30, and we'll be right here across the USC Trojans Media Network. Thank you, Coach. Good luck this week. We got Lake McCree, your tight end, coming up next on Trojans Live.